Today it's called Listen to the Voice. This is today's talk. Listen to the voice. Capital V, voice. It speaks to us all the time. And it's always guiding us towards our good. Always, always, always. And a lot of times, it's so easy to negate that voice. Or to, oh, it's coincidence. Oh, what do you mean? What voice? I was just here to pick the winning lottery number. I was just here to open this business. What are you talking? What voice? No, it's the voice is always guiding us. And I started listening to it a long time ago. It really profoundly came for me through my mother's death. That's when I started noticing things lining up in ways that I couldn't chalk up to coincidence. Granted, I was in an extremely sensitive state at that point, but I remember 3 weeks after she died, and I was throwing a temper tantrum because my mother was dead, and all I did was I heard, "You bought her a birthday card. Get that card out." So I started writing the card, and then I thought, "You're this miserable. Write her a letter." And I just wrote, "Dear Mother, I can't tell you how much I miss you." And I looked up, and there in the VCR clock was the exact time I had gotten a call from my brother 3 weeks before that they found her. And at 9:17, and I didn't think that was my mother. I didn't say, "Oh, Mother's giving me the sign," but I did feel the universe was showing me where I'm connected and everything. And I thought, I'll bet I've been getting signs like that my whole life, and I haven't noticed them. And so I started paying attention, and I started trusting the voice more and more. By the way, writing those letters, sending cards and things to those who have passed is a great way to get through your mourning process. I haven't sent Mother a card in a long time. What I used to, I'd put $1 in the card, and I'd just put "To Mother" on the envelope and put it in a mailbox. I figure whoever gets it gets $1. But I feel better. And that's what that's for. It's not for my mother's benefit. I'm sure she's just fine. It was for my benefit to get me through the couple of years mourning period. And so I began to observe that kind of stuff, though, that says write a card and put $1 in it. I listened to that voice because what could it hurt? There are so many voices we hear, do this, and ask yourself, would it hurt anyone if I did it? And you don't know what might happen, what good might take place in your mind, in your body, in your life, if you do it. If you do it. And that's why I mean, to listen to those voices. That's why during correct perception, whatever I hear to say, I just go ahead and say it. I don't always know what it means. I don't always know. But I trust if I hear the voice, if it comes to me, the voice doesn't speak out loud, it doesn't say, "Shawn, do this." Well, sometimes it does, but for the most part, if it pops into my head, I'm trusting, oh, this is the time for communication, so that's what I say. This is what I hear. I forget where I was the other day, and who was I talking to the other day? And I just said, well, they brought something up, and I said, well, this is what I hear. So it's coming up. And I trust that in my own life as well. This is what I hear. I believe in the still small voice. I'd heard about it my whole life, but I didn't know what it meant. I really didn't know what it meant. Basically, I think probably growing up in the type of Christianity I grew up in, I probably assumed it was going to scold me in some way. It wasn't going to tell me how much it loved me. Nobody, my church did, my parents, nobody told me that how much I was loved by God. Nobody told me that God could not love me, or could not love me. Nobody told me that. I came into Unity, and they told me, it's not that God loves you, it's that God can't not love you. Because God is love itself. Oh, I could get on board with that God a lot better than the God of my childhood. And so I could begin to trust the voice. The voice, that voice, I have friends. Who here's read Edwin Cain's book, Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity? Okay, well, hopefully a lot more of us are going to read it because I'm going to do a class with it very soon. And Edwin, who comes from a more traditional background, she demands signs. She absolutely insists on signs when she needs to make a choice. Now, she can do that because she believes she will get them. You can't get signs if you don't believe you can have them. I Some of you know this story. It's one of my favorites that she tells in her book. And it's about when she was completing ministerial school, she wanted to go out and get a job, and there was one in Texas that was offering her everything she wanted, including a salary. It seemed perfect. But in her prayer time, she kept hearing Tennessee. She thought, Tennessee? Why? Why do I have to go to Tennessee? And so she went to the office where they help you get jobs at Unity, and she said, is there an opening in Tennessee? And they said, this just came on my desk this morning. And I forget what town it was in Tennessee, and it was not a big one. And she looked at it, and she said, what they were offering was nowhere near what I believed I could live on. I don't understand, but I'm hearing Tennessee. So I called them, and they said, oh yeah, it's a very small church, and but we can't pay any more than this. And she thought, really? She said, well, I'm gonna have to go away for the weekend and pray on it. And so she decided to go to this retreat somewhere in the hills of somewhere, and she took a friend with her. And she was talking to her friend, and she said, you know, I need a sign. If I'm going to take this job in Tennessee, I need a sign. You know, Moses got signs. I'm as good as Moses. I can have signs. You know, Moses got a burning bush. So I want a burning bush. So they're driving up this hill, and they come across a sign that says Burning Brush Hotel. And she said, well, no, that can't be it. It's Burning Brush. I want a burning bush. And they drove 10 more miles, and they come around, and they see a sign, Burning Bush Cafe, 3 miles ahead. She went to Tennessee. She moved to a small, and then she said she served it served her, so it was time to move on. But she believed. See, what do you believe in your stuff? I really almost beg of you to begin to trust there's an invisible presence that really wants your highest good. And the journey to get to the highest may not look like the highest, but it really is. It's not that it wants it, it's that it's so willing. The invisible presence is willing that we be happy, joyous, and free all the time. And if we are not, I believe it's because we are choosing to see it incorrectly, whatever it may be. You know, somebody said, well, aren't you ever supposed to feel grief? Of course you are. Someone you love dies, of course you would have grief, but that doesn't mean joy is absent. That doesn't mean peace is absent. That doesn't mean freedom is absent. You're not bound to the grief. Grief is an experience, not a trap into bondage. It's an experience. And so I believe that the invisible presence, and I believed it as soon as I heard it in Unity, early on. I believed that when I heard this invisible presence is willing at all times for you to be happy, joyous, and free, and is willing to show you the way in a way that you can understand it, in a way that you can see it, in a way that you can experience it. And if you don't experience it, it's not that you're not spiritual enough, it's that you're not quite ready to see it. And I do believe that, and that's not a punishment. It's not that spirit or the presence is holding out on you. It's always saying, here I am, here it is. Walk this way. It's just that sometimes we get attached to our grief. We get attached to our misery. We get attached to the sense of sickness. We get attached to our projections of misery. We get attached to it, and we're so attached that it's too scary to let it go until all of a sudden we get unattached. Now, maybe claw marks on the wall, but we get unattached. See, to come to me and say, oh, I'm so guilty because I'm still attached. No, that's staying attached. That's you're insisting on staying attached. Guilt is not redemption. Guilt is not a good way to stay poor. Guilt is not a good way to stay guilty, in bondage, in disharmony. Guilt does not redeem us so that we can stay in our misery. Guilt just lets us stay in our misery. There is no redemption in it. So, guilt will not have the payoff we were hoping for. Gratitude has the payoff that we are hoping for. To give thanks right here, right now, for this misery that I have experienced for this long, and that I now have a mustard seed size of faith that I could move through it. That there is a way to see this differently. That I could see my childhood differently. That I could see my relationships differently. That I could see money differently. Not even my money, all money. That I could see all money differently. That I could see my politicians differently. That I could see my world differently. That I could see you differently. And that I could see me differently. Imagine that you could actually see yourself differently. How nice would that be? Because once you see yourself differently, meaning in truth, then everybody reflects it back to you. There is no them then. Then there is just that. And it's a voice. And it's a voice that speaks. You know, when I look in the mirror and I say, hi, God, I just hear joy. I hear freedom. I hear things that just, they're all the time flowing. And so to observe what you're hearing, what's being said, and assume it's on your side. Nobody, no thing is saying to you, you're ugly, you're stupid. There's no invisible presence that's saying that to you. There's nothing in the mirror saying that. That's only your past. That's just your past trying to convince you that you should stay in your past instead of walk into the present. Or the presence. Walk into the presence. Hi, God. Make an assumption God is on your side. Whatever God is, it's for you. Whatever God is, it likes you. Whatever God is, it loves you. It will never steer you wrong. Whatever God is. And if anyone would try to use their God to send you to hell, you say, thank you. No, I've been there. I'm not going back. Thank you. But I don't believe what you believe, and I will not, again in my life, have a God that believes in hell. I cannot afford a God that believes in hell. It's way too expensive. It costs me my peace. That God will cost me my joy. Not that God, the belief in that God. Will rob me of my health. It will rob me of my money. It will rob me of my love of you. And it will rob me of my love of God. I can't have the God that would think that I could learn better through misery. I can't have the God that would think I could need a lesson through pain. I can't have that God. I can't afford that God. And I don't have that God. Sometimes I have a Shawn that does that, but I don't have a God that does that. You know, I have a Shawn that forgets, but I don't have a God that needs that. And I'm very grateful. I want to read a couple of little things to you. First of all, Charles Fillmore, The Revealing Word, talks about the voice. And it says, first of all, the Webster's Dictionary, the faculty or power of utterance. Then it says, the power center in the throat controls all the vibratory energies of this organism. It is the open door between the formless and the formed worlds of vibrations pertaining to the expression of sound. Every word that goes forth receives its specific character from the power faculty. Therefore, the voice is the most direct avenue of expression of consciousness. Spirit is the still small voice in every man that hears and blesses and uplifts. Spirit is made manifest as perfect wholeness through the illumined mind. The art of listening to the inner voice and obeying it is well worth developing. Then it is that the Christ of one's life calls out, put out into the deep and let down your nets for a draught. When the thinking faculty is obedient and does as it is told, it is always rewarded with a multitude of new ideas. New ideas. Oh, you mean I could get a new idea about this, which I didn't know how to succeed at. I could get a new idea by developing the faculty that listens to the voice, the still small voice of spirit. By developing it. I assume you all believe in this because you're here and you keep coming back. So whether you're used to practicing it or not, doesn't matter. Get used to practicing it. Start paying attention when you're on the highway. And if you get aggravated with another driver, just ask, what's the truth about this situation? You'll get answers. You'll get information right away. And you'll get information to lead you to peace. Because you're not going to get the answer, that driver wants to overtake me and win. I promise you, you're not going to get that answer. Do not try to give the other driver a headache in his life or her life. Oh, she might be racing to the hospital to get don't do that. Don't put that on the other driver. You don't know what's going on over there. What you know is you're not in competition. We're not competing with each other to win. We've all already won. We're not competing. So, that driver who's racing down the road and cutting you off, could you ask? You might admit, I don't know what they're thinking. I barely know what I'm thinking. But I do know if I think that I've got to win, I'm misthinking this. I'm misperceiving this. I've got to show them. Now there are sometimes, David does not like it when I toot my horn at somebody who's throwing something. I say sometimes they've got to be reminded that what they're doing is not careful driving. Sometimes I am the teacher.
And you do it with that calmness.
Sure. Yes, I know. Well, I kind of do until you resist me. But what I don't do anymore is lay on the horn.
Oh, good.
I don't punish them. It's really I don't punish drivers. But sometimes people aren't aware that they're cutting you off, and they're not. So I seek. What are my motives here? Am I just trying to flay off my? Is that the right word? Flay off? I don't know. Try to get rid of my fear, my anxiety. Am I just trying to get rid of that by? If that's the case, then I have no business hitting the horn. If I'm just trying to get rid of something. But if I am the teacher in the moment, discernment. Discernment really is the answer. Now, here in 2 Corinthians, chapter 8, the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, available in our bookstore. Holy Spirit says, listen for my words and you shall hear them. Well, that's a good promise, isn't it? Listen for my words and you shall hear them. For I am always willing to speak to you. You do not hear me when I speak because of your thinking and your thoughts about the meaning of the world. Make sense? But if you are willing to lay down your own thinking, you will hear me. When you are willing to lay down your own thinking completely, you will hear only me and you will rejoice. Let me tell you what it means to give everything. This is not a statement that can be measured and judged based on actions within the world, for the world is not real. Therefore, you cannot be measured or judged by anything in the world. That was a big relief to me to be reminded of that this morning when I read this. You cannot be measured by or judged by anything in the world. If it's not real, then we're not competing with each other again well, yeah, but they have that, and I don't have this, and I don't have that. Oh, thank goodness I have this, so that makes me better. None of us can be measured in truth by the world. If the world isn't real, how can it judge? But you can use the world to measure and judge your own giving. For your belief in the world is the measure and judgment of that which you give. You give through thought. There literally is no other way to give. This is not a partial statement, nor is it symbolic. It is a statement that is whole and completely your truth. You give through thought. You give through thought. There is literally no other way to give. What you give is what is experienced. So your experience is a measure of what you give. When I ask you to give everything, I ask that you give all thought to the true desire of your heart. This is the only way in which you can give. To not give in this way is to not have given, since that which does not exist cannot be given. So, you sing a song, listen to the music of your life. Let your life become a song. And it's a love song. And it loves you. This voice that I ask us all to continue to listen to is a voice of love. It is a voice of wisdom. It is a voice of joy. It is a voice of peace. Now, the journey from the beginning when we first hear this voice may be complicated, and it may hurt our feelings, because we have old thoughts that say, oh no, I can't give up my thinking on this. But then ask, go within and ask, if I give up my thinking on this, will I be at greater peace and in greater love than I would be if I held on to my thinking of this? And if the answer is yes, I recommend you give up that thinking. Thank you.